right, I'm going to call this February 14th, 2022 board meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Dr. Campley?
Here.
Mr. Dorr? Here. Mrs. Evans-Brockett?
Here.
Mr. Fountain?
Here.
Mr. Keenan?
Here.
Dr. Kohler?
Here.
Mrs. Mayers?
Here.
Mr. Saylor?
Here.
Ms. White?
Here.
Will you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The mission of the Perkiomen Valley School District is to cultivate an inclusive community of learners empowered to grow intellectually, socially, and emotionally. Moving on to 1.05, a recommended action to approve the agenda as presented. Is there a motion? There's a motion by Mr. Dorr. Is there a second? I have a second by Mr. Fountain. Any question? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. All against say nay. And the ayes have it. Moving on to 1.06, the approval of minutes. Recommended actions to approve the minutes of January 10th, January 24th, 2022, as well as February 7th, 2022. Is there a motion? A motion by Mr. Dorr. Is there a second? So second by Mr. Fountain. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Against, nay. And the ayes have it. Is there anyone from the public who's in person that would like to speak? Seeing, there we go. Sorry, go ahead. If you're on Zoom, if you could start to click the raise your hand function as we get to you. Thank you.
Good evening. I am Judy Lofton from Skippack Township. I'd like to speak this evening about some information that was shared during the last Wellness Committee meeting. During the committee, we talked about information from the most recent PAY survey, which was conducted of our 6th, 8th, 10th, and 12th graders in November. This is a survey that's run every 2 years by the state, and it gives us information about the well-being of our students. And frankly, some of the information coming out of this survey is alarming. When students were, and the data are broken down by grade level, so I'll say up to what percentage of whatever the highest percentage was. So when students were asked, during the past 12 months, did you ever seriously consider attempting suicide? Up to 22% of our students said yes. When students were asked, did you make a plan about how you would attempt suicide? 17% of our students, up to 17% of our students said yes. And up to 9% of our students reported that they had made a suicide attempt in the past year. And I know that having looked at these data over the past several years that I've been aware of the survey being conducted, these numbers are often high, but they're much higher than they have been. And I think there's probably a lot of reasons for that. And I know I'm not the first person to express concern to the board about the state of our students' mental health and well-being. There is one part of the survey that I think is really important to look at, though, and the survey also asks students about the student climate and whether or not they feel safe. 15% of our students say they have experienced cyberbullying. Up to 29% report that they have been bullied. 19% of our students, or almost 1 in 5 of our students, say that they do not feel safe when they are at school. And among students who, in the survey, who report that they have been abused, the most common form of abuse is emotional abuse, with insults and name calling, and that was reported by up to 75% of students. So I think we, as members of our community, who are all here because we really care about our students, even if we disagree, we all need to think about how we're talking to each other, how we're responding to each other, how we react when we're frustrated, and how we move forward as a community. So I know last week I came here and I said some things that were probably rooted in some frustration. So this week I just want to share a couple things that I'm grateful for. And this week, I'm really grateful for our board. You don't disagree, but you're all here on Valentine's Day doing the work of the district. And I know I ran into Mr. Dorr. He said his son is playing in the playoff game across the hall, and he's here. So everyone here has a huge commitment to our students and our community. Mr. Saylor, you have spoken in ways to try to heal some of the damage that that exists in our community, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that you ask people to treat each other with respect. I appreciate that you came to the Partners for Equity and Inclusion meeting and participated and were thoughtful in your engagement. Mrs. Mayers, I've always known you to be an advocate for students with all kinds of learning needs, to really support inclusion, to seek to ensure that every student in our district gets an excellent education. Mr. Keenan, I've heard you promote initiatives to address learning loss, and thank you for that. I'm very grateful. That's clearly an issue. And Mr. Fountain, I know that you have also been a voice for healing in the community. So thank you all.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Lofton. Is there anyone else in? Yep.
Good evening. My name is Wendy Ledford, and I'm a secretary at Schwengsville Elementary. I've been a secretary with the district since 1996. While I am thankful for the school board looking at a variety of ways to support students' academic growth, including the summer programs, I am still longing for the day where the school board's focus is no longer on forcing medical procedures or devices on anyone. I'm asking you to appeal the federal court's decision of February 7th immediately. Our students and staff deserve the opportunity to breathe freely all day, every day, until the end of time. I had my line in the sand, and it wasn't the wearing of masks. But just as the district, the county, the governor, and the Biden administration have moved their goalposts over the past 2 years, so have I. Masks are causing harm to staff and students, physically and/or emotionally. Sore throats, headaches, mask acne, which could actually be a staph infection, students with an unhealthy worry that they will get everyone around them sick, anxiety, and withdrawing from social interactions. While I'm very sorry for the families who brought the lawsuit against the district, I do not believe their children's rights are more important than the rest of the students or staff. I'm sorry for their illnesses and for their fear, but if they want to wear masks for their protection, that's fine, but please fight for the freedom of choice. Mask wearing is hard. It's hard for children to communicate with their teachers. It's hard for teachers to teach. It's nearly impossible to read social cues, and it's harmful for everyone forced to submit to mask wearing or face covering for an extended period of time. I challenge each and every one of you to wear a mask for a full day tomorrow. Put it on at 8 a.m. That's about the time most elementary students are getting on a bus. Take the mask off at 9:30, but only for 5 minutes. At 10:30, you can take it off again for another 5 minutes. At noon, you can take the mask off for 30 minutes. That's your lunch break. And then again for another 20 minutes for recess. Oh wait, it's raining. Put that mask back on. You'll get a mask break again soon. At 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, take the mask off for a 5-minute break each time. At 3:30, you can remove the mask for the day. I challenge each of you to follow the schedule, and I'm doubtful many, if any of you, can make it through the day. And the day after, try it again. This time, take away half of the breaks, as I'm not sure every student is permitted this many breaks in a day. Please fight this federal court ruling with every fiber of your being. Fight back against the judge for treating our children so horribly. The Super Bowl was just held yesterday, a stadium full of fans crammed in the stands without masks, but we can't allow students to sit in their class and breathe fresh air. This isn't about health and safety, not by a long shot. It's about control and submission. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else in person? Seeing none, Are there anyone on Zoom?
No, Mr. Sato.
Is that a no? I'll take that as a no. Move on to the Student Liaisons Report, which will be presented by Mr. Christian Seibel, who is a Perkins Valley High School junior. And do you know if Matt's on Zoom at all?
Matt is on Zoom, but we do not have a report tonight.
And there's no report tonight. Okay. Moving on to the President's Report. I have none tonight. We'll move right along to the Superintendent's Report. Dr. Russell?
No follow-up this evening, thank you.
No follow-up this evening. Mr. Subers, do you have a Solicitor's Report?
I have no report.
No report, and we'll move on to 2.05, the District and Committee Reports. Board members actively participate in the following committees. Available minutes and notes of the committee activities are included in the agenda. Does any member have anything of note to report? Dr. Kolar?
I just want to report on behalf of the foundation that we are having the dodgeball tournament back again after a year off. It'll be on March 5th at the high school. The registration is closed and we have several teams, but their participants can purchase tickets to be spectators for the event, and it's our big fundraiser of the year. So if everyone could come out and support it, that would be great.
Any other board members? All right, let me just, obviously, Mrs. Lofton may mention that I attended the PV Partners meeting. There are a lot of subcommittees that happen in the school district and events that happen in the school district. I would just urge all board members, when the time commits, to attend as much stuff as humanly possible, to play a role, to see what's happening in our school district and in these committees, and get connected to everything that is out there for us to get connected to. We'll move on. Kim, did you have anything? No? No, sorry. Yep, that's okay. We'll move on to Section 3, to consent agenda. Looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda as developed on February 7th, 2022. I have a motion by Mr. Dorr. Do I have a second? I have a second by Mr. Fountain. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Against, nay. The ayes have it. Dr. Campley, Education.
Yes, 4.01 and 4.02 were the education and update and enrollment report that we discussed last week, and everything else is on consent. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Campley. Mr. Keenan, Business.
Yes, 5.01 and 5.02 were done last week, finance update and report on grants and donations, and 5.03 through 5.15 are on consent.
Thank you very much, Mr. Keenan. Dr. Kolar, payment of bills. Mr. Fountain's microphone.
Thank you. Item 6.01 is a motion to ratify the payment of bills and payroll as per the list submitted for the period ending January 31st, 2022, and to authorize the payment of bills on the check and voucher register submitted for February, and I so move.
Is there a second? There is a second by Mr. Dorr. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against, nay. The ayes have it.
Item 6.02 is a motion to approve the treasurer's report and financial statements, including summary of cash and investment accounts as prepared by the administration for the period ending January 31st, 2022, and I so move.
Is there a second? Yes, Dr. Campley with the second. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Against, nay. And the ayes have it.
That concludes section 6.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kolar. Professional personnel, Ms. Evans-Brockett.
All items in Section 7 are on consent.
Thank you very much, Ms. Evans-Brockett. Support and personnel, Mr. Fountain.
All items in my section are on consent.
And thank you, Mr. Fountain. And governance, Ms. White.
9.01 is the first reading on policies. The following policies are presented for a first reading: 006, meeting; 108, adoption of textbooks; 109, resource materials; 110, instructional supplies; 234, pregnant students; 310, purchases subject to bid or quotation; 610, purchases budgeted; 626, federal fiscal compliance with the attachment; 816, social media. Are there any questions? Seeing none.
Wait, sorry. I just have one question. Thank you. For policy 109, number 3, I wanted to know if we could add neurodiverse and differently abled to, let's see.
We're talking about whenever possible, materials shall represent many religious, ethnic, gender, and culture groups in order to ensure an inclusive curriculum.
Yes.
Or would you want to just right after gender?
Sure, if that works for the board. I didn't know if anybody wanted to discuss or what our next step would be.
What I could offer is that Mrs. Smith and I will take a look at that and make some suggestions based on the feedback, and we'll share it with you this week, if that would be okay with the board, and it can come back to second reading, if that's okay with Mr. Subers and the board, next month.
I'm sorry, that would be appropriate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing no others, 9.02 is on consent, and that ends the section.
Are there any comments from the audience? Are there any comments from Zoom? Literally a very quick board meeting. Are there any comments from the board members? Ms. Evans, well, yeah, we'll go round table. Ms. Evans Brockett, Dr. Kolar, Mr. Fountain, Dr. Campley, Ms. White.
I just wanted to just quickly say that I was fortunate enough to be a member of the audience at the Select Ensembles concert last week, and it was absolutely exceptional. Our very own Christian Seibel had a solo and absolutely slayed. So I just wanted to point that out and to thank him for his investment in our music program, and then also to thank our music department and all of our participating special ensemble students, because they really put on an absolutely wonderful show, and it was really great to see live music performed to that level. So that was it.
Thank you very much. I'll give mine real quick before I head over. Wednesday, 7 p.m. in Springford, our girls are playing. Coach Russell's team's playing for the Pac-10 championship game. I got my 3 tickets today. I plan to be there very quietly. I'll sit in the stands very, very quietly and cheer on. I hope everyone can come and pack the house with more PV people than Springford people. Mr. Dorr. Mr. Keenan. Mrs. Mayers.
Quick comment. First, I wanted to say on Valentine's Day, I appreciate those kind words from Mrs. Lofton. And secondly, I wanted to thank PV Foundation for giving a mini grant to the Learning Intensive Support classroom, Ms. Roche's classroom. They were able to purchase a Cricut machine that I don't know much about, but with that, they're going to embark on expanding their programs for vocational students. So not only will we have Perk Up Cafe that students with who need more support will be involved with, but now we'll have Perk Up Pin Pals, where anybody in the student body or administration can come and order pins, and it'll be vocational training and experience for those students with more intensive needs. So thank you so much.
Last but not least, Dr. Russell.
Thank you, Mr. Saylor. And I, too, wanted to echo some of the comments of others. And first of all, recognize the service on the part of our board on a day where it seems appropriate to be thankful for the working opportunities that we have. I also wanted to call our attention to ourselves as a leadership team and the opportunity to model for those in our community some of what we hope for with respect to the communication that we're observing right now. So we're in a really tough place right now as a school district, and I hope that those of us on this leadership team can model for others and intervene when we are able and have opportunities and influence for the sake of our students and our community at large. I think we could really be impactful in that way. So looking forward to better days when it comes to some of the feelings that we're experiencing right now, in the hopes that they dramatically improve. And we'll work together on helping that to move forward. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Please note 10.03 is our notice of video recording disclaimer. On that note, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. I have one. I will. Is there a second? Any question? Second by Dr. Campley. Any questions? Seeing none, this motion is adjourned. Please note that the executive please note that there was an executive session held at 6 p.m. today for the purpose of legal. We will see everyone in March.